8 races in 8 nights with a shot for $10,000. Hello and welcome to Midco Motorsports. I'm Brian Shawn. The Dacotah Classic Modified Tour is one of the state's biggest weeks of racing, with modified drivers from all over the region making their way to North Dakota. The tour culminated with the legendary 50, the winner taking home a cool 10 grand. We had all the action live for you last Friday night on Midco SN. Last year's legendary 50 was rained out, but a beautiful night in Mandan this year. The street stock main event was up first with 19 cars in the field. Early on, Jeff Hellman in the 54 was able to slide into the lead on the low side and would hold on to that lead when Sean Volk would lose control heading into turn 1, ending his night. But he would be okay. When the race resumed, it was a 3-car battle. But Dacotah Speedway points leader Zach Frederick would move into second and then reel in Hellman. They would go side by side for several laps until Frederick made the pass on the outside with 5 laps to go. He cruises from there, picking up his 3rd victory in Mandan this season.
It's pretty slick. It's kind of hit and miss, and just trying to hit that little groove that there was, and that's about all I could do.
A few restarts in there. How key were those?
I guess it made me more confident to try the top, so that was pretty important.
Then it was time for the 33-car field to take the track for the 50-lap main event. Ray, North Dakota's Jason Walla took over the top spot from Sean Strand after an early restart and paced the field for the first 19 laps. Ricky Thornton Jr. started 13th, but made his way up to the leaders on the low side of the track, eventually taking over the lead from Walla when the caution flag flew for a mandatory pit stop with 29 laps left. Thornton had his hands full with Walla when the race resumed, with Walla leading briefly. It would be a battle as Dacotah Classic Modified Tour champion Hunter Marriott almost slid into the leaders. Thornton would maneuver through lap traffic from there and would go on to victory lane, picking up his 2nd legendary 50 victory and $10,000.
Once I got off the bottom, I really didn't know I was going to start rubbing up through the middle. I had my dad down there in turn 3, like screaming at me to move up the racetrack. So I got to give him and Trent down in turn 1 a lot of credit. Without them, I don't think we probably would have won this deal.
Now to recap the event, Midco SN racing analyst Chris Shearer. Chris, a fun night at the track in Mandan, a lot of contenders vying for that $10,000 prize, and track conditions certainly something drivers had to pay close attention to. Ultimately, Ricky Thornton Jr. got it done from 13th place on the grid. Thoughts on his performance and how he was able to maneuver through traffic?
Well, he got up to the front pretty quickly, and that was impressive to me in itself. He was actually in the lead, by the pit stop, and going from 13th to to the lead in 25 laps. That's pretty impressive right there. He obviously had the car dialed in, and he was one of the front runners right from the get-go.
Yeah, something unique about this race was that mid-race pit stop you talked about. Now, Thornton Jr. said he didn't change a thing with the car. Do you like that pit stop caution? Is that interesting to you as a fan? Because that can change a lot.
As a fan, I like it because it gives drivers another opportunity to fix something, to make their car better. But it also, as a driver, I don't like it if I'm leading, because it gives the guys behind me a chance to pass me. If I'm in 2nd or 3rd, it gives me an opportunity to, get a little better position, a little better setup in the car. So as a driver, I love it and hate it. As a fan, I just straight up love it.
It's the first time you and I have been out to that event as well for the legendary 50. Good crowd, good racing, very competitive field. What stood out to you about it most?
The biggest thing is all the competitors from around the nation. I mean, there's guys from Colorado, guys from Arizona, just all over the nation came up to Mandan. I mean, it's Mandan, North Dakota. To me, that was the craziest thing. I was expecting more of a regional race. This was a national race, and this is a big deal. It was pretty exciting stuff.
Yeah, it was. It was a fun race. Thanks for coming out, Chris. Thanks for the time as well today. Great working with you this past weekend.
Oh, it's always been a pleasure. Thank you.
Well, it's the end of an era for one racetrack in Sioux Center, Iowa. The final checkered flag waved at Sioux Speedway with the 9th annual Sprint Car Showdown. We'll recap the action coming up next. Welcome back. Back in 1972, Sioux Speedway on the Sioux County Fairgrounds established as a figure 8 track. It has undergone some transformation over the years into a big half mile that has hosted some memorable races over the years. but the track's days are numbered, with plans to break ground on a new high school scheduled to begin soon. But what a way to go out, hosting the 9th annual Sprint Car Showdown with the MSTS 360 Series. First on the track were the late model street stocks. Corey Ye led this one from the drop of the green flag, but J.J. Zabel would work his way from the last starting position all the way to second when the white flag was in the air. Trouble struck for the leader Ye when his quick steer mount broke and he lost his steering in turns 1 and 2 on the final lap. Zabel inherited the race lead for the green-white checkered finish and drove away, picking up his first victory of the season. The USRA stock cars were next on the track. Chad Overgaard paced the field to green and didn't let anybody overtake him. Overgaard got a hefty challenge from the 271 of Randy Brands, but would hold him off in the final laps. Overgaard won the 1998 Enduro race at Sioux Speedway and put the final stamp on the track in the stock car division by winning on Thursday night. The MSTS 360 Sprint cars were the final race on the track, with veteran Greg Baker starting on the front row. Baker grabbed a commanding lead over the field early, but a caution came out with 5 laps to go to bunch up the field. ASCS regular Wayne Johnson applied the pressure to Baker late, but after another late caution, Baker was just too good and held off Johnson to win the final race in history at Sioux Speedway. After the night was over, fans said goodbye to the half-mile oval for the final time. Thousands have flocked to the fairgrounds over the years, but soon the land will be the site of a new high school. And for those that have been invested in the facility for so many years, it's a bittersweet end.
Part of it's really sad because, there's a lot of work and a lot of effort here, and of course we enjoy the sport, so part of it's kind of relief because it is a lot of work, but at the same time it's like, man, it's going to really stink not having races here anymore.
And it's city-owned property, so you kind of knew this was coming at some point in time, and I mean, we need a school, we need a high school. It's inevitable, it's growing, so it's a good thing in that sense, but it's too bad we don't have an option of someplace else to go.
Well, as one speedway closes up shop, another is back in business and continues to grow. We'll take a look at the newly renovated Wagner Speedway next on Midco Motorsports. Welcome back. It's been tough on track owners and promoters at rural racetracks in smaller communities over the last decade due to car counts or fan attendance. Wagner Speedway in the Mitchell area was in that category, but after reopening in 2007, weekly shows came to a halt in 2016. A group took it upon themselves to bring racing back, and so far, so good. Jay Elson has more.
In south-central South Dakota, the sounds of speed are as strong as they've ever been.
Lynn Fisher and his family and a whole lot of volunteers put hundreds and hundreds of hours in. They rebuilt the whole stadium, they rebuilt the whole track, they rebanked it. They just put a ton of time and work into it, and volunteers helped get everything fixed back up the way it had to be, and they advertised and pushed it really hard to get everything going, and it's just an amazing, amazing place now. I mean, it's awesome.
It is a legitimate, fast, hammer-down track. I've been to a lot of tracks, been very blessed to go to a lot of different places. This thing is as fast as you're going to find. 43-degree banking, I mean, you stand on it until you see Jesus and turn left.
Wagner Speedway hasn't always looked like this, and it certainly hasn't been immune to the struggles of a typical small-town racetrack. In fact, in 2016, it looked like the days of making things go might be numbered.
Well, the ownership and management really took a hard look as, was this a feasible venture for them? The community, I think, was one of those things where you don't know what you have until it's gone. So I think there was some rally cry around having the racetrack back open once again. So they took a good hard look.
Rod Pattison wears several hats in Wagner, serving as promoter and announcer, as well as handling the track's marketing and media relations. He says the toughest part about getting things back on track has been regaining the trust and support of the racing community.
It's been tough because those Friday nights that we did not race in 2016, people found other racetracks to go to, they found camping, they found boating, they found weekend getaways, so we had to win them back again. It was kind of a slow start at the beginning of the 2017 season, and I told ownership and management just to be patient with this deal and slowly but surely getting fans back, slowly but surely getting drivers back.
The proof is in the numbers. For the 2017 opener, its first event after the hiatus, Wagner Speedway drew a total of 42 cars. The season finale had 110. So far in 2018, the average count has been between 50 and 55, with an average attendance of over 500. Track officials would love to see those numbers climb, but it's a start. And in this business, there's something to be said about heading in the right direction.
People have told me they just look forward to it when they come to town because it's such a great track and it's a fun time. The people love seeing it because it's something close for them to all go to. They just love it.
It's safe to say that the fans are back, the drivers are back, the community is back with us again, and it's just been a snowball effect.
Wagner Speedway has 14 race dates scheduled for 2018 with a variety of classes, including sprint cars, late models, and stock cars. Well, the World of Outlaw late models made their only appearance of the season in the Dakotas, making a stop at River Cities Speedway this past weekend. Stay with us as Midco Motorsports rolls on. The World of Outlaws Late Models Series has had a grueling stretch through the Midwest, racing at 5 different tracks in an 8-day span. After a show at Black Hills Speedway in Rapid City, the tour headed northwest to Grand Forks, with the NOSA Sprint cars also on the slate. Grand Forks' own Mark Dobmeyer in the field, looking for his 5th win of the season at the Bull Ring. Veteran Wade Nygaard paced the field to green and led the first 9 laps. But Dobmeyer, with an opening, shoots ahead for the lead on the inside, and just 2 circuits later, the 8-ball of Jack Croker would spin off the track, bringing out a caution. On the restart, Thomas Kennedy moving into 2nd place, but no one would catch Dobmeyer as he works through lap traffic and picks up yet another victory.
It's kind of weird being running a feature race when it's still daylight out. I think we finished, it was still pretty light out, but they ran us first tonight in the program, so a little bit different getting used to that, used to having the darkness out, but all in all, it was a good race.
Modifieds took the track next with the 71 of Dustin Strand on the pole. He was off to a fast start and was never challenged for the lead. There were no cautions as Strand took the checkered flag in a race that lasted less than 5 minutes.
Our main business is modifieds. We build those cars from the ground up, and the reason that the guys come to us that do is they want a fast race car, and so we're constantly trying new stuff and trying to keep all our guys running up front, and they've been doing a good job. So yeah, it means a lot to win at our home track.
Strand then had to climb into his late model for the evening's finale with the World of Outlaws. Winnipeg's Ricky Weiss started on the pole and was the car to beat early on, leading the first 20 laps. But points leader Mike Marlar would eventually reel him in, taking over the top spot midway through the feature. Marlar cruised from there, never losing the lead the rest of the way, winning his 4th victory of the year and taking home $10,000.
When you win a race like this, you really have earned it because it's such an intense racetrack. So it's cool to win one here at Grand Forks, and definitely one of the most unique, hard racing. Like I said, I don't think I've sweated this much in 2 or 3 years anywhere.
A packed house at Red River Valley Speedway to close out the fair in West Fargo. Legends first on the track, Fargo's Tim Estenson had to start from the back of the pack after having some steering issues during his heat race, but it didn't take long for the 14T to own the field. Just 3 laps in, he passes pole sitter Sean Johnson of Kindred, and Estenson would roll from there, putting his car in victory lane for the 16th time this season. 20 NOSA sprints took the track for the A-Main. Thomas Kennedy out to prove something on the night, becoming just the 3rd driver ever to post a sub-12-second lap during his heat race. Wade Nygaard led in the early laps, but here comes Kennedy. Check out the slide job he puts into turn 4, bumper to bumper, but Kennedy stealing the lead. Kennedy would control the next 15 circuits, but with 2 to go, Mark Dobmeyer making a charge. The Grand Forks native, though, makes a costly mistake in turns 3 and 4 as he clips a tire and gets tangled up with the 4M of Cale Mack. Both drivers would be okay. On the green-white checkered finish, Kennedy getting the 21K into victory lane despite running 1 cylinder short of the rest of the field.
I haven't been that great on my yellow restarts, so I figured, well, get going a little bit faster coming into 3, and hopefully that motor gets going when it, like it should. And it did, but when it runs on 7 cylinders, you hope for the best, but you expect the worst.
The IMCA Modifieds closed out the night with the 99B of Bryce Borgen starting on the pole. He was running in second, then loses his car heading into turn 4, causing a caution. Borgen would have to settle for 7th place. The night belonged to the 84 of Mike Johnson out of Moorhead. Johnson would run the race virtually uncontested, picking up his first feature win of the year.
I'm actually really lucky my car is really neutral right now because I actually guessed wrong. I thought I watched the Legend feature and it looked like it was really dusty and slippery, so I made my adjustments for that and came out and was wrong, but it still worked fine, so it's just lucky this car is so good right now.
The month of money continued for the World of Outlaws sprint cars at Eldora Raceway in Ohio for the 35th annual Kings Royal, the winner taking home $50,000. Donnie Schott started 4th and took the lead on lap 15, looking to win his 15th World of Outlaws feature of 2018. But Brad Sweet surged late, moving into 2nd place on lap 27 and coming within a half car length at the checkered flag, finishing behind Schott by just 0.189 seconds. It was the 3rd straight Kings Royal victory for the Fargo native. Stay with us as we sit down with one Sioux Falls driver who won his first USRA Hobby Stock National Championship in 2015, and he hasn't stopped winning them since. That's next. Welcome back. Dustin Gulbrandson started going to the races with his mom as a kid, and one day decided he wanted to get behind the wheel himself. Well, it's worked out pretty well. In 2017, he picked up 7 wins and 29 top 5 finishes in 36 starts, propelling him to a 4th USRA Hobby Stock National Championship. He sat down with our own Kelly Stewart in this week's Inside Track.
Thanks, Bichon. Yes, joined here in studio by local hobby stock driver Dustin Gulbrandson, a Sioux Falls native. Thank you so much for coming in. And Sioux Falls is a close-knit community. The racing community is close-knit, but not a lot of people have the opportunity to really get to know the drivers and who you are as people, because you are people. So that's why we're here today. Thanks so much for coming in. How are you doing?
Good, no problem.
All right. Well, you grew up around racing, so kind of elaborate how you really got into the sport and knew, you know, that's what you want to do.
Well, I've been going to the races ever since I was a kid. My uncles both raced, and my mom brought me every weekend, 2-3 nights a week, and I guess it just kind of grows on you. So
yeah, just
here we are, I guess.
Just gets in your blood. Yeah. So when you decided that, you know, you want to be driver, how did you really get your first opportunity to actually pursue that?
Guy from Sioux Falls had a really cheap front-wheel drive race car for sale, and we bought it for like $300, $400, $500 or whatever it was, and started racing the front-wheel drive class for about, I don't know, 5-6 years, and then moved up to the hobby stock deal, and we've been doing that since 2010.
And you've been doing very well at it. 4-time national champ. So I want to talk about this year. You're having some great success. I mean, what do you think has been the key to all of that, if you have to pinpoint it?
Time in the shop.
Yeah.
Keeping the car maintenance, and you got to be able to finish a race to win a race, and I think we've finished every single race this year, so we like to spend a lot of time in the shop during the week and make sure the maintenance is done correct and just keep everything going smooth.
Yeah, a lot of hours go into that. Well, I mentioned it earlier, but 4-time national champ. And a lot of people outside the racing world don't understand how difficult that actually is. You have to race a lot. So can you elaborate on what actually goes into putting yourself in a position to win the national championship and then to actually do it?
Well, I don't know. I guess there's a lot of luck involved too. And I don't know, we travel down, we go down south to like 3-4 hours away, Dacotah, Cresco, Mason City, and you try to get as many shows as you can. They take your top 20 shows, and we usually get anywhere from 32 to 40 shows a year, just USRA, and then, I don't know, points work themselves out.
I guess. Well, we talked about it a little bit earlier, but the future of racing, so specifically in the Dakotas, where do you see it going? I mean, you consider some tracks closing, but will they open back up? Where do you see this sport going in this region?
It's tough saying. I do think both tracks will open back up. There's just too much money sitting there in Brandon to just close down and not be a racetrack. And then the other one, I think, I don't know, just needs the right promoter to make it work. It's close to a big town or a big city, and small towns are all around there. And don't know. I think they'll all work. I think they're coming out with new ways to make it more affordable, and they're trying with the crate motors and different things, and I don't know. I think we'll be all right.
All right, future is bright. Okay, last question for you. So with all your experience, looking back at where you were when you started racing to now, what would you say to a young Dustin or any kid that wants to get into racing that you wish you would have known getting into it?
That's a tough question.
I know, I saved it for last.
You get a really good paying job.
Oh man, that's all you got?
Yeah, I guess. No, I don't know. If you do it, just make sure you dedicate yourself to doing it. And I don't know, if you want to win races or if you want to go out and have fun, there's two different ways to do it. And I'm a pretty competitive guy, so if you want to be competitive, just be prepared to spend a lot of time in the shop and a lot of time on the car. And I don't know. That's about all I got, I guess.
All right, well, it's been working out for you. Well, thank you so much for coming in, and we wish you the best of luck with the rest of the season.
Thanks. Luck always helps.
All right, Dustin Gulbrandson, back to you, Bishan.
All right, thanks, Kelly, and thanks to all of you for joining us this week on Midco Motorsports. Enjoy the races. We'll see you next time.
Thank you.